Today is the 31st of January 2022, and it is the day where I almost got top 100 for Gabriel season and got stuck in Legend 23 for over 36 hours and sadly failed and missed it by one legend, which is pretty sad, but we move on, right? We move on. I was very dejected, like borderline depressed throughout the entire last few days where this kind of endless cycle of being stuck continued on, but you know, it's over. As painful as it was, it's over, and I will never climb seriously in zero ever again. I've learned my lesson. But today, you know, we're going to talk about things going forward, going into the next month, going into the future. Now, I kind of forgot that we have two sets coming out for Global tomorrow, and so we're gonna do it one by one because otherwise it's gonna be one really long video, and these videos are already long enough as they are. So today we're gonna talk about set 3, and then tomorrow morning, I think, if everything is on time, you'll have the video for the Fighters Collection analysis as well, and then you'll have the usual like packs, Tuesday stream, all that kind of stuff. And then on top of everything else, I will then catch up on the remaining deck and fights from Fighters Collection plus set 4 throughout the start of the month. So you have a lot of stuff to look forward to. You know, for Gabriel, I said before, I was waiting to get, you know, my ranked. I was hoping to have 2 SP ranked reward Gabriels, but sadly I only have 1 now, so it's quite unfortunate, I'm not gonna lie. But alas, enough salt. Let's talk about what's actually in set 3 today. So we have 3 clans, which are Link, Joker, Shadows, and Gold. And this set, after coming out of set 2, is a little bit disappointing. I'm just gonna tell you that this is, unless you really want to play like these decks in particular, it's mostly a skip. Like Messiahs are the only worthy pickup, as well as the Diablo, like I guess like the strides like Aura Geysers and Diablo, but hey, they're all GR, so like if you're a Shadow Paladin one trick, you can reset your boxes for the Shadow Paladin GRs, but that's about it, honestly. So let's talk about it. So let's start with Shadows. Here they are at the top of the list. So in this set we have support for both Diablos, and Witches get unnerved at some point. I don't remember if it was set 3 or set 4, but they kind of like get another nice little bonus in that they will, from now on, essentially also count grade 3s and grade 0s from the top 10 for those effects and stuff. But, you know, that's besides the point. Let's talk about the actual cards in these sets. We have quite a few to talk about. Also got to make sure I only cover stuff from this set and don't accidentally show you stuff from Fighters Collection. That's for tomorrow's video. So, for starters, we'll go over them after this, but let's go over the actual things in the set. So, of course, Stride Fodder / Claret Searcher in Brandwin. This, of course, is a important card that you will be running as a 4 of, so, of course, that's a pickup. This is the new Karen. It says, when it's placed from hand on rearguard circle, you can discard 1 and search your deck for a grade 3 Blaster Dark and add it to your hand, which of course is just for Blaster Dark Diablo. So in a Diablo deck, this is very vital. And then when it's retired as a rearguard for a cost of another card's ability, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater Blaster, you can retire it as 2. So basically, if let's say for example we have like the actual like Diablo Stride, which needs to retire 3 for its cost. If you retire him plus 1 more card, that's enough, right? Because he counts as 2. So basically how this works, there's also a starter for this, so it's also very good. Countercharging PG is the Karma Collector. So again, very good card, very good effect, as usual. And then we have the Dark Heart Trumpeter. So she says GB1 when placed on rearguard circle. If your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater Blaster, Soul Blast 1 and search your deck for a grade 1 that is not herself and call it. So this is actually, it feels like it should be good because it's an extender. So like when it's called, because like all of the things in Shadows call grade 1s from deck, so normally you would extend it into another grade 1 and like make more attacks, but sadly it's a bit hard with how defensives work, and like not much synergy for her right now, so she might get better in the future, but for now she's okay. 8k vanilla, so of course it's kind of whatever. GB1 10k attacker, it's whatever. Then we have this bird, a night skying eagle. It's actually played in Claret. When placed GB1 on rearguard circle, gets plus 4k. So if you call, for example, Trumpeter and then call the Dark Sky Eagle, that's an 18k line. So that's actually pretty nice. So it's not a bad common. Then we have the new Claudus, is a grade 1 now. Rearguard circle GB1 during your turn if Vanguard is a grade 3 greater Blaster, gains plus 2k, so 9k booster. And when it boosts a Doran on GB1, then if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater Blaster, he gets plus 3k, so an even bigger, plus 2k. So basically 11k booster, right, with a Doran. So it's not great, but it's okay. Then we have this Witch, GB1 when placed on rear, count loss 1, and call a grade 0 from your deck. So not many applications, I guess, outside of calling your triggers, which this will get better in the future. There are good stands and stuff that you want to call out, but for now it's not really necessary. GB1 when it boosts the Vanguard, gain 4k. It's kind of alright. This is a self-damager. Shadows get their first ever self-damagers in this set. So this is the Stern Shutoraitenturum. something like that. And going into grade 2s, we have Makta. So GB1, when she attacks the Vanguard while being boosted, count +1, search deck for grade 1 and call it. So basically this can call out your Dark Heart, which then calls it into the Eagle to make an 18k line. Otherwise, you can just tutor out your Karens, which will give you retire fodder, which is also good. Then we have this Glaimu, sorry. GB1 when placed on rear, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, Claret Sword, count +1, soul +1, and search your deck for grade 1 and call it, and that unit, this unit, sorry, gains +2k for that turn. So it's okay. It, calls out a grade 1, I guess, which is like, can call Swordbreaker, can call your freaking, I don't know, like this. Plenty of other things, I guess. Then we have the Doran, GB1, during your turn. If your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater blaster, +2k, it's 11k attacker. And when it attacks the Vanguard, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater blaster, if it's being boosted by Clawdust, countercharge 1. So it's a countercharger combo. It's not great, but it's a countercharger combo. This doggo is actually not too bad. This is the Feis Bow. With GB1, during your turn, if you have 1 or less back row rear guards, +2k, so it's an 11k attacker. It's okay, but when it hits the Vanguard, if you have 1 or less back row rear guards, countercharge 1, soul charge 1. Now, this is actually quite cool. I know people play this as like a 1-of at times because it's a countercharger and soul charger, so it's not too bad. Then we have this thing, which is during your opponent's turn, gain 5k, so it's one of those like chunky interceptors. This is a budget Nemain. GB1 when placed, count +1, discard 1, draw 2. It's a GB1 Nemain with 7k power, like literally Nemain, but just on GB1, so it's much slower. Then we have a 10k vanilla, we have the 12k attacker on GB1. Then going to the grade 3s, we have a few duds. So we have this guy, GB1 Vanguard Circle, when attacks the Vanguard, retire a grade 1 rear guard, not even lower, just grade 1 rear guard to gain 5k in a crit, and when placed on Vanguard Circle, count +1, soul +1, and call a grade 1 from deck. So self-sufficient, I guess, but it's not good at all. Then we have the Babukar. So this is from the Ren Legend deck. Vanguard Rear Circle GB1 when the attack hits a Vanguard, count +1, search deck for grade 1 or lower and call it. So again, we don't really have good call targets for the time being. Like when we start getting the grade 2s, they count as grade 1s in deck. Late G, maybe, but by then they'll be power creeped, so I don't know, it's not really worth it. Then the Phantom Blaster Dragon Break Ride was added to the game, which is also used in Diablo, and not so much in Diablo, it's used in Revengers, sorry, and also in Spectral Duke. So basically, first, let's go with the second skill, which says Vanguard Circle when placed to retire one of your rear guards, so search your deck for a blaster and add it to your hand, and then gain 3k. So this allows you to ride it and search for the Revenger Phantom Blaster Abyss, because it's a blaster, right? So that's also very good. Or I can search your grade 2s and stuff, like usually just search that though. And then when you break right over it on Limb Break 4, yes, Limb Break 4 in G, you can soul last 3, and for that turn your Vanguard gets +10k in the following ability. When it attacks the Vanguard, you can retire 3 of your rear guards to draw 2, countercharge 3, and for that battle when your opponent would perfect guard, they have to randomly discard a grade 3, otherwise they cannot perfect guard. So this skill isn't really used that much outside of like, I guess, meme Spectral Duke decks, and even in like Revengers, you don't really use that effect, you just use the power. But even then, I mostly see Mordreds in Revenger lists, so I think it's usually like on that flow, on that line, on that vibe, I guess. Then we have Claret Sword Dragon, the kind of one of the boss units for Shadows in G. GB2 once per turn, retire 2 of your rear guards to give him +10k in a crit. It's not bad for GB2 to be honest, but then when you stride over him, he's actually not, like, he's honestly decent. You count +1 when you stride over him, and then put any number of grade 1s from your drop zone that are not sentinels back into your deck, and then search your deck for a grade 1 or lower from you and call it, and then give the unit +2k. So he fetches out any grade 1s you want, whether it's a counter charger, whether it's like, you know, a card that counts as 2 and retired, whether it's a sword breaker, like honestly not bad. And then of course when placed on Vanguard, will gain 3k. So I think that Claret Sword, it's not good in set 3, but in set 4 it does get better. So if you're a Claret fan, something to look forward to. And then Diablo somehow ended up the worst of the 3 shadow decks. So Blaster Dog Diablo says GB2 when your Blaster G unit strides, there's only one of them so far, any card in your hand gets grade +3 when you discard it for stride. So you can literally stride with any trigger, which is kind of cool, I guess. And when you stride Phantom Blaster Diablo over him, then you choose an opponent's rear guard and retire it. So that's good, it's a free retire, we like that. But again, you only stride into him like twice per game, right? And then when he's placed on Vanguard, so gains 3k. So it's fine, but it's just not like, you'll see why it's not fine when we go over Phantom Blaster Diablo himself, like the payoff for running this grade 3, right? Then for triggers, we have the Cursed Eye Raven. This is a very broken stand that isn't great in 0 just yet, but trust me, in the future it should get good, right? Normally by TCG logic it should get good, because in TCG it is a staple. It got reprinted as a triple rare foil like last year, which is crazy. So Regal 6 GB1, put it back, you rest this card and put it back to your deck, and then call the top 2 cards of your deck as a rest, and at the end of the turn retire those units. So you basically just like use a skill, call a bunch of stuff, and usually you want to like compress your deck so you're calling grade 1s, which then power up certain cards coming out in set 4 that will then be good in Lured in the future. And then of course we have the Claret crit, so it's the usual crit, you know, damage zone, draw 1, and on attack put the soul and draw, and 5k, which is also nice. So those are the triggers. Now let's go over the strides. We have the triple rare stride, which is the Grim Recruiter. On hit to Vanguard, search your deck for a grade 1 and call it. It's not bad. It's a free call. People do run this as a 1-of. Then we have Aura Geyser Dragon, which is a 4-of in most G zones for shadows. When it attacks the Vanguard, count +1 G Persona Blast and retire 2 of your rear guards, and then reveal the top 2 cards of your deck and add them to your hand. For that turn, for every revealed grade 1 or lower, get +5k power. So it's good. It's literally CB1 G Persona, like retire a David or retire a Karen in order to, you know, plus to hand and like add PGs and stuff, and like it's a good card. It's just very simple. It's just a plus, right? You convert cards already boosted into more cards in hand for next turn, which is great. And then finally we have Phantom Blaster Diablo, which is a bit of a disappointment. GB2 once per turn, count +1 and G Persona Blast in order to give him +10k and a crit. So he gets that just by count blasting 1 and G Persona Blasting, which is a bit of a heavy cost, you know, for you know, your GR materials. And then he gets a skill that says, of course, not the same thing as CCG, otherwise this deck would have been actually good. When it attacks the Vanguard, retire 3 of your rear guards. If your opponent has 1 or less rear guards, then for that battle, when your opponent would Sentinel, they have to randomly discard a grade 3 or greater. And if they have 2 or more rear guards, you choose 2 of the rear guards and retire them. Yeah, so you retire 3 of your own to kill 2 of your opponents, or have a glory effect, which is, I guess you get the crit and power on top of that, but it's really not that great. Like, the payoff for this deck is just not that good. So look forward to future blaster support, I guess, because if you want to play blasters, I would say pick up your stuff and wait, because it's really not that great. It's really not that great. Best shadow deck right now is still basically just, it's literally still, and I mean still, it is just freaking Revengers. Like, it's crazy. And then the starters that they added, we have the Full Bow Brave, GB1, count +1, put it to soul, and then search your deck for a blaster and add it to your hand, and you can now be retired by your opponent's card effects. So it's good because it can search out basically, like, it's on GB1, so you have to have Strident already, but you can search out your Blaster Darks, you know, all kinds of, like, you know, nice blaster cards, right? So it's not super bad, but usually the one you're going to see run is David. Again, can be retired by your opponent's card effects, but when he's retired by your card effect as a cost on GB1, he counts as 2 rear guards, which is very good because he allows us to use Aura Geyser for, you know, just retire your starter and you get to use Aura Geyser. So that's also very good. And I think this starter, pretty sure comes out next set, but just in case it came out this set, it says GB1 when it's retired by cost, count +1 for that turn, your Vanguard gets +5k in the following ability. When attack it's a Vanguard, choose opponent's rear guard and retire it. So it's not great, but, you know, mostly people are running David or Judge Bao. That's basically the 2 starters that you're going to mostly see. So yeah, that is Shadows. Overall, mostly Copium. It's like, if you're only pulling for Shadows, I don't recommend it. I don't think the set is good for Shadows. Like, it's, I don't know, it has some good baseline stuff you want to pick up, like PGs and Stride Fodders and stuff, and like, I guess Maka maybe, but then like Claret Sword, yeah, but he'll be a rank reward that you can grind for, and you know, he's a triple rare, so it's not super hard to get. Aura Geyser Dragon, yes, very important, but like, it's a GR, so, you know, think about how you're going to use your resources in this game as a free-to-play in particular. And Phantom Blaster Diablo is like, it's the only win con for the Diablo deck, so if you want to play Diablo, you will need it as a 4-of probably. But if not, I would say just skip it. Like, that's save your resources for something better, right? Build Tavas, like, just build Tavas at this point. Moving on, let's talk about gold. I guess let me talk about freaking just the starters first before we go into anything else. So we have 2 starters. We have this little doggo who says, in the soul, when your Azel Vanguard is placed, you can choose a like a grade 1 that is not him from your soul and put it to the drop zone, and then call this card out, draw 1, and he gets +2k. So it's not a bad starter for Azel, but it's still not Criff, so keep that in mind. And then we have the Rising Lionette, which is a GB1. When you're the rear guard is placed from deck, you can put this to soul to give that unit +5k. and the following ability, which is on hit Vanguard, canvas 1, look at top 3, call 1. So, and he also can be retired by your opponent's card effect. So it's literally the same as like most of the Gold Paladin effects in this set. So that's just all you gotta really think about. So yeah, those are the starters. Now let's talk about the other cards. We have the Stride Fodder / Gurguit Searcher. We have the Countercharging PG. Then of course we have the 8k Vanilla. We have Mr. Howl, which is of course the part of the Azel engine. When placed on rearguard circle, if your anchor is an Azel, countercharge 1, soul charge 1, which is good. It's a counter charger. We like that. Then we have this guy. When your Vanguard is a Liberator, counterblast 1 and retire this unit. Look at top 3. Call a Liberator to an empty rearguard circle. Sorry, I can't speak. And put the rest into the drop zone, which means it fills up your drop for Legion, which isn't too bad, especially with Narukami ringing around. This card I actually quite like. So Villainous is GB1 when placed from deck. For that turn, give 2 other units plus 2k. So it can help to make your 9ks into like hit for better numbers, which I actually quite like, especially if you call multiples of him in one turn. So it's not bad. This guy is GB1 when placed from deck, draw 1. So it's a what's the bunny called again? It's like Soul Blast 1, draw 1. It's that, but on GB1 with no Soul Blast. Then when placed for that turn, give another unit plus 2k. This is not good. This is when placed from deck, Soul Blast 1 and give another, and for that turn gain 5k. So it's an 11k that from being called out, I guess. Not really great either. But a good card is Mr. Pwill. Pwill says GB1 when attacks the Vanguard being boosted, combos 1, look at top 3, and call 1. So of course it's an extender. You have to swing at Vanguard, but it is an extender that, you know, powers up more and more and more, which I think is quite good. Then, of course, we have the Henriness, which is GB1 when placed, if your Vanguard on rearguard circle. If your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, Gurguit, combos 1, soul blast 1, and look at the top 3 of your deck, call 1, and then this unit gains plus 2k. So it's the usual, like not Amber clone, but the Glimmer Breath clone, which lets you superior call stuff, which isn't too bad. Bluish Flame's got a bit of support, but sadly it's not as good as it used to be. Once per turn, this did not used to be once per turn from what I remember. When your rearguard is placed from your deck, if your Vanguard is the Liberator, for that turn, he gets plus 2k and the following ability, on hit Vanguard, countercharge 1. This used to not be once per turn, so you get like countercharge 5 from hitting with this guy and stuff like that, so your opponent would always want to guard him, but sadly not the case. Then we have a banned card. This card is banned in premium. Wonder Azel. When placed on rearguard circle, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater Azel and it's standing, you can search your deck for an Azel and ride it. And for that turn, that unit gains plus 5k. So if you're stuck on a Azel you don't want to be on, you can just correct it. Just go into a different one, right? So for now, he's harmless. But if we ever get V cards in this, it's going to be very much not harmless. Then during your opponent's turn, 5k. Nemia Lion is a very nostalgic card. Kind of interesting how it only got into 0 now. Then when placed from deck, GB1, look at the top card of your deck and call the top card of your deck anywhere. So it's all right. 10k vanilla, nothing to write home about. And then of course going forward we have this 9k, which is a GB1 12k attacker. Not too bad. Then don't mind the 3 Gurguits here, have a rank reward one, so that's why it's incomplete. We have this Lion, which is on attack Vanguard, GB1 on Vanguard Circle, gain 6k power. Vanguard Circle when placed, combos 2, look at top 4, call 1. Way too overpriced for what it is. Then we have this guy, Vanguard Circle GB1, when your rearguard is placed from deck for that turn, this unit and that unit gain plus 3k. It's actually but I wish it was on rearguard circle. When Vanguard Circle when placed, combos 1, soul blast 1, look at top 4 and call 1. So it's a cheaper version of literally the card before it, which is like, why do they even release these cards sometimes, you know? And then we have Mr. Danvaro. So GB1 Vanguard rearguard circle, when the attack hits a Vanguard, combos 1, look at top 4, call 1. I do play this as like a 1 of, I want to say, in my Gurguit list, because it's just an on-hit extender. Which isn't too bad. It's not too bad, doesn't need to be boosted. Then we have the Raven-Haired Azel, which is a very good card, but is a bit high rolly. Limb Break 5, when this unit rides over a grade 3 or higher Azel, for that turn gain plus 10k. Oh, sorry, when a unit rides over him, that is a grade 3 or greater Azel, for that turn give it plus 10k, and your opponent cannot guard with anything outside of Sentinels. So no heal guards, and it's pretty strong. Of course, it doesn't have to be in ride phase. You can use Wonder Azel to ride into, like, over him, which is also quite good. So yeah, just don't get stuck on him, I guess, because that can definitely hurt. That's for sure. And then of course the main grade 3 for G is Mr. Gurguit in Gold Paladin. They reworded his GB2 in an interesting way, but it's still like the big problem with this deck is that it decks out like crazy, and the GB2 is a big part of that. GB2, at the end of your turn, combos 1, soul blast 1, and then look at the top 4 cards of your deck and put one of them into the drop. And then until the end of your opponent's next turn, he gains plus 5k power. If you put a trigger to the drop for this by this cost, he gets another 5. So he's an Imperial Daughter basically, or 18 or 16k base on your opponent's turn. But of course you're like you're calling stuff from deck all the time, and you're also like milling yourself by his GB2 all the time, so you deck out very quickly in this deck because there's no like good generic legions because they're all liberators, right? And then when you stride over him, count +1, look at top 4 and call 1, and then give that unit plus 2k. So again, another card you're taking out of the deck, right? It's cool that you can superior call that much, but Vanguard, you just, in 0, you go through the deck size way too fast. Like, it's pretty overwhelming. Then we have a bluish, well, Liberator, I guess, crit. When placed from deck, put it back into deck, and then look at top 4 and call a bluish, and add a bluish flames to your hand. So, lets you farm bluish flames, which is nice. We have the Gigantic Ringer. GB1, when your other rearguard is placed from deck, you can put this unit back to deck, and then draw 1, and for that turn, that unit gains plus 5k. So, not too bad. It recycles for a draw, and also powers up to get over defensive, which isn't bad, but it's a stand that doesn't do like too much to plus you, so it's okay. And then this is the Gurguit crit, you know, does the usual crit stuff. Then we have 3 strides. The triple rare is actually very good, and you do want to run as a 4 of, which is the Rising Shine Dragon. So when attacks the attack hits a Vanguard, count +1 and flip any card face up from your G zone, and then look at the top 2 cards, sorry, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and call 2 of them. So you can basically swing rearguard into rearguard into rear, swing this into Van, hit, call 2 new attackers, swing with them into face as well. It's a good first stride because his skill isn't GB2 restricted, and he flips another G unit face up, so it instantly turns on GB2, so you can actually like buff up with Gurguit immediately. So he's a pretty good card. You can run it as like, I guess mostly a 2 of, because there's a double rare stride in Fighter's Collection that you want to run as well, so you need space for everything. We have Campbell, on hit Vanguard, look at top 5, call 1, and then give that unit plus 2k. It's a GR, but you only really need like 1, honestly, like maybe 2, but 1 is honestly fine. It's an on hit that calls something, right? It's not super great. And this GR is also very, very whatever. Spear Cross Dragon, GB2 when placed on Vanguard Circle, count +2 and G Persona Blast. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck and call 1. But then, for every face-up card in your G zone, you can call 1 more. So basically, if you go into him on your like 3rd stride, you can refill board for CB2, which isn't bad, but it doesn't do anything else. Like, you're just calling a bunch of stuff, which is decking you out even more, and it's like, I don't know, it's pretty weird. It's not a really good stride, honestly. Like, golds right now, the main deck is good because you have stuff like Quill, which is really, really good, and Gurguit has potential, and you know, like, this stuff is good, and like, there's a bunch of really nice promising cards, but the G-Zone is super lacking. Like, it's really, really lacking. So again, another clan is gonna have to just wait it out and see what comes in future sets. Alright, and finally, it's time for Messiah. So this is the part that's actually good. This is the part where I stop, you know, all this copium and like sad talk. First, we have a really nice starter in Neon Messiah. GB1, during your turn when this card is unlocked, you can put it to Soul, and then you search your deck for a grade 3 Messiah and add it to your hand. So for now there's only 1, which is Alter Ego Messiah, but there will be more in the future. There will be more in the future, so that is something to look forward to. And of course, it cannot be retired by your opponent's card effects, which is also very, very nice. Alright, then looking forward at the grade 1s, which are plenty of good ones. First, we have Sacrifice Messiah, which says GB1, when your other rearguard it locks during your turn, you can, if you Vanguard the grade 3 Greater Messiah, you can lock him as well to countercharge 1 and give another unit plus 3k. So it's a countercharge and a self-lock, which is really important for your like first stride amnesty and stuff like that. Then we have the Stride Fighter / Messiah Searcher. Again, very nice. Countercharging PG. Very nice. It used to be super expensive in TCG, so it's nice. It's just a double rare here. Then we have this girl. Very beautiful art, by the way. Really love this one. GB1 when placed on rear, count +1, discard 1, and then choose another rearguard in the same column as this unit and lock it, and then draw 1. So it's a self-lock, but she's 6k base. I like her art, but she's not very good. Then we have an 8k vanilla, which is also a Messiah, actually. It's an 8k vanilla Messiah. We have this guy who's also very good. GB1 on attack, when you can unlock one of your locked cards to gain 4k power. Now, this is abusable, and I will tell you how later on, in combination between this set and Fighter's Collection. Up next, we have another common, which is GB1, during your turn when this unit locks, count +1 and, when this unit unlocks, count +1 and retire this unit to search your deck for 2 copies of himself and call them. Cool, I guess you can make columns. I don't know, it's not really played, so I'm not going to bait you into thinking that. And then during your opponent's turn, grade 1 gains 5k, so 11k. This guy is not a Messiah, but GB1 when boosted Vanguard, it's a 10k booster. Now we get onto the grade 2s, and there's lots of good stuff in here. They ported forward the Arrestor Messiah from GB205, which says rearguard cycle GB1, when placed, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater Messiah, for that turn gain +2k in the following ability. At the end of the battle that he attacked the Vanguard, lock himself, and then choose any player's back row rearguard and lock it. So you can lock your own in order to enable amnesty, or you can lock your opponent's in order to prevent them from having a back row, because this is not a soft lock. We're going to talk about soft locks later, but this is a regular lock that stays, right? It stays, so it's also very good. So, very good card. Then we have the Awakening Messiah, which says GB1 during your turn, when this unit is unlocked, you can choose one of your other rear guards and stand it and give it plus 2k. So let's say you lock this by an effect, and then you attack with this grade, sorry, not this grade 1, this grade 1, to unlock that guy. He immediately stands with the power and still continues attacking, that can attack again, which is pretty nice when you have a Stride and 5 selection that can scale that. Then we have the Blast Monk, who says GB1 when it attacks, unlock one of your lock cards, and if you did, gain 4k. It's the exact same as the grade 1, so yes, it's used for the same purpose. Then we have this guy, GB1, during your turn, when this card is unlocked, count +1, and then choose one of your opponent's locked cards, and it becomes an Omega lock, which is pretty rare, and I've seen some lists use it. It's not too bad, but of course there's ways to get around lock nowadays because of, you know, every G zone having a generic unlocker, so that's also something that's in here. We can talk about that at the end, actually. Then we have the Duskblade. GB1 when attacks the Vanguard, if it's being boosted, count +1, choose opponent's grade 2 or lower rear guard, unlock it. It's not great. It's just you can't target front row because you have to attack with him into the Vanguard, so it's not great at all. Then during your opponent's turn, gain 5k. 13k intercept. This guy was really good in TCG, but not so much in Zero. When placed on rearguard circles, GB1, count +1, discard 1, and then lock another rearguard in the same column as this unit to draw 1. So it's a cycle and a self-lock, but that's about it, sadly. That's about it. Then we have this beautiful Lady Battler. Once per turn, GB1, you can lock one of your own rearguards to give her plus 4k. So that's a nice way to lock your Awakening to enable him to stand something when you unlock him. So it's also very good. And then, of course, we have the GB1 12k attacker. And now, I want to talk about the main grade 3 here immediately before we talk about their other stuff, because he's very important to understanding the rest of the deck. So, GB2, once per turn, when a card unlocks during your turn, Soul plus 1 draw card. So this was nerfed. This wasn't during your turn. This was during any turn. I'm pretty sure it wasn't once per turn either, or maybe it was. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a draw. You gotta just be careful when you activate it because it's pretty hard. But when you stride over him, count +1, and then you choose one of each player's rearguards and lock them, and then give you Vanguard plus 5k. But then, at the beginning of your opponent's battle phase, your opponent's locked unit unlocks. Now this is what we in the community call a soft lock, because it doesn't lock until the end phase, it locks until the start of the battle phase, which means they cannot replace that card during their main phase. So if they put like a random grade 1 in their front row, it's gonna stay there if you locked it, right? Until the start of their battle phase, and then you're gonna have to stick with it with no intercept in the front, right? So it's a cool way to kind of like punish it, I suppose. And then, yeah, basically the other skill is when placed on Vanguard, so gain 3k. So it's a very good grade 3 because it locks, which of course, you know, even if it's a soft lock, it's still very powerful. You gotta give it to him. You gotta give it to him. Then we have this grade 3, which is the Lady Gunner. GB1 when placed on Vanguard circle. Sorry, when placed on rearguard circle. My bad. You choose, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 greater Messiah, you choose one of your other rearguards and lock it. Again, locking Awakening and stuff like that, which locks the sacrifice, sets up a bunch of self locks, and then you choose an opponent's rearguard and soft lock it. So again, it's another way to, like, you lock one front row with your stride skill, lock the other front row with this, and then bash face 5 times, which is pretty good, pretty good. So basically the whole thing about Link Joker in G is that all the Messiah support is about locking your own stuff and your opponents in order to enable combos, which is quite cool, then moving forward, we have this lady, I think, or guy, maybe guy. GB1 when attacks the Vanguard and Vanguard circle, if you have 2 or more, or you may unlock up to 2 cards, and if you unlock 2, he gains plus 3k and plus 1 crit. That's okay. Vanguard circle when placed, count +1, soul +1, and choose the opponent's back or rearguard and unlock it. It's alright. Anything with a lock is going to be okay, right? Then this is the 16k attacker on Vanguard Circle, and when placed Vanguard Circle, count +1, and lock one of your own rearguards, and soft lock one of your opponent's rearguards, which is, again, for CB1, it's not too bad. It's alright, I guess, but it's 10k base, so it's not super fantastic. And then GB1, during your turn, when this unit unlocks, count +1, retire it, and call 2 copies of him. So from your deck. So it doesn't create out of thin air, sadly. And then this guy is the count +1, 13k attacker, so it's not great either. The Messiah crit is Blink Messiah. Some people do run it, some people don't. Up to you, basically, how you want to construct the deck. And then the Stride. So we have the triple rare Stride, which is the Judgment Messiah, which will be your first Stride at times. When the attack hits a Vanguard, you can choose an opponent's back row rear guard and lock it. proper lock, not soft lock, and then choose a locked card and unlock it. So you can unlock one of your own cards that you locked for your stride skill, for example, to enable, or like an Arrestor Messiah, right? Or something like that, to enable multi-attacks, which isn't too bad. But the main stride we go into is, of course, the Amnesty Messiah, which says when it attacks the Vanguard, cost 1 and choose any number of locked cards and unlock them, both yours and your opponent's. And for that battle, for every unlocked unit, gain 3k. If you unlock 3 or more, gain a crit. So you always want to aim for that crit whenever possible, otherwise you can go for some other strides. But it's good because, of course, when your units lock themselves after attacking, you can then unlock them with this and they can attack again because every unlock goes in stand, right? So that's why you enable more attacks, as we can do 5 attacks with this deck. And finally, we have the stride. That's one of the best ones for Link Joker for now, but will not be outclassed, but a better one will come in set 4, which is Big Crunch Dragon. So Big Crunch Dragon says GB2 once per turn, cost 1 and G Persona Blast, and then choose an opponent's front row rear guard and then lock all units in that column, or lock all rear guards in that column. So sadly it doesn't get over resist in the front row because it has to choose a front row, and so it's also not an Omega lock the way it was in the TCG. So it's been nerfed in many ways, but it's still a really good stride. Just CB1 G Persona to lock a column is always going to be good because you lock with alter egos, you're giving them a soft lock, and you permanently, well, not permanently, but properly lock the other column. So you shut down plenty of attacks, and so it is a good stride. I recommend picking up 2. For Amnesty, I'd say 2 to 3, and like at least 2. Honestly, aim for 2, but 3 is optimal, and then 2 Big Crunch I think you can get away with for optimal for now. But in set 4 you don't really have space for it anymore, so you can go along with that. But otherwise, like, every single triple and double is really good for Link Joker. So I really do like, the one reason to pull in this set is honestly Link Joker. That's like a reason to reset boxes and a reason to actually like use gems in this set, in my opinion. So take that advice as you will. That's just my stance on it. Anyway guys, that's going to be it for this set review for set 3. Again, if you want to hear about Fighters Collection, we're going to talk about that in tomorrow's video, so you can check that out as well. Of course, as usual, we have a new set coming in JP0 as well, with Night Rose, Harry, and new Aquaforce supports. If you want to see me open packs, check out the Twitch, link in the description. I'll be live there, and we have a Tuesday stream going on as well, and all kinds of other fun stuff during Tuesdays, so make sure you come by. Anyway guys, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.